Is Cleetus McFarland prepared for Talladega? Contrary remarks have been made by a chief officer at RCR. Although Cleetus believes he is prepared, it is still unclear if Childress Racing and, more significantly, Nascar will permit that to take place. What exactly did he say then? What was RCR's next statement? And before Talladega comes to pass, what does Cleetus still have to prove? This story became far more serious than the post-race enthusiasm suggested, so let's find out. Cleetus McFarland finished his maiden NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race at Rockingham on Saturday in 30 seconds, 6 laps behind, following a thrilling day that featured numerous saves, a speeding penalty on the pit road, a spin that caused a caution, and a lot of survival. "See you guys in 2 weeks at Talladega," he said to the crowd after the race. However, Danny Lawrence of RCR retorted that NASCAR might still want another race first, because there were a lot of things they wanted to see happen that didn't. And that's precisely what we're talking about today. First, what transpired on Wednesday, when the RCR plot really began to gain steam. Next, what Cleetus said following Rockingham and why Danny Lawrence entered immediately behind him with a far more circumspect tone. What were the opinions of other well-known figures in the garage on the run? Realistically speaking, the final question is whether Cleetus McFarland will race Talladega later this month, or if the process will slow down at this point. Let's begin from the beginning of it all. Garrett Mitchell, sometimes known as Cleetus McFarland, will make his NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series debut with Childress Racing at Rockingham in the number 33 Adams Express Chevrolet, according to an official announcement made on Wednesday, March 4th. Both his enormous fan base and his development as a driver were highlighted in RCR's announcement. He had more than 4, according to the team, 6 million YouTube subscribers, highlighted his top 10 ARCA runs at Charlotte and Talladega in 2025, and positioned Rockingham as his next big move in stock car racing. The customary discussion was quickly sparked by that announcement. For some, it was an exciting new tale about a well-known creator with a genuine passion for racing getting an opportunity to develop with a big team. For some, it was a quick fix. To be honest, I believe that tension is important in this situation because it clarifies why Rockingham would always face harsher criticism than a typical debut. Cleetus wasn't only getting into an O'Reilly vehicle. He was entering a debate over whether opportunity and celebrity were advancing more quickly than experience. Nor was that skepticism fictitious. After making 4 ARCA starts in 2025, McFarland debuted in the Truck Series at Daytona in 2026. After a self-spin on lap 6, the Truck's debut came to an end. Fans and commentators weren't responding to a deep lower series resumption when they looked at the Rockingham promotion. They were responding to one of the garage's most prominent development opportunities being given to a driver who was still very early in the stock car learning curve. However, this is where the narrative began to slightly alter before the O'Reilly race even went well. McFarland finished 4th in the ARCA Menards Series East race at Rockingham earlier on Saturday. As part of his double-duty day, ARCA said he had more confidence than ever in a stock car and claimed he had gone out there to turn left for Greg Biffle, according to NASCAR's own Rockingham debut summary. Although the run didn't completely dispel the doubts, it did give him some legitimacy going into the more difficult race later in the day. To be very honest, I believe that the emotional tone of the entire weekend was altered by ARCA's 4th-place performance. The O'Reilly debut would have seemed like an impending catastrophe from the beginning if he had been a complete wreck in that first race. Rather, Rockingham appeared to be a day when music might be able to learn something, keep the car tidy, avoid generating the wrong kind of headlines, not compete, not shock the field, and just survive. And that played a significant role in how the entire day was subsequently assessed. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s guidance was crucial because of this as well. He advised Cleetus to avoid the headlines, avoid trying to be a hero, and just run laps and gain knowledge before the race. That may seem straightforward, but it was the perfect advice for a motorist in Cleetus's shoes. Raw speed was never intended to be the goal at Rockingham. It was meant to be attentiveness, discipline, and finishing the day with something to improve. And the need for that guidance became clear once the race got underway. After putting himself in a 3-wide situation on lap 4, Cleetus entered turn 1, got the number 33 sideways, and managed to pull off an incredible rescue. In one way, it was amazing, but it also quickly revealed the issue. There were still times when his ambition and eagerness overshadowed his judgment. The entire afternoon was sort of hinted at in that one scene. There will be moments when the edge appears much too close, yet there will also be flashes of instinct. But he continued to live. Blake Lothian wheeled ahead of him later in Stage 1, and Cleetus dived to the apron just in time to avoid him. The miss was described by Nascar as being by inches. If things go a bit differently, that's the kind of moment that completely alters the debate. The day becomes precisely what the naysayers feared if he clips that car. Rather, he managed to get away once more, and gradually that tale of survival began to take center stage in his debut. The actual race was still difficult. His biggest splash, according to NASCAR's recap, occurred on lap 206 when the number 33 came loose in turn 3, dropped to the bottom, and then spun back up into traffic to trigger the 7th caution. Additionally, he was penalized for speeding on the pit road and had multiple half-spins during the race, according to Motorsport. Therefore, the final sequence did not conceal a secretly seamless performance. It was really messy. This, however, is the portion that made all the difference. He was done. He finished the race. 244 laps, finished in 30 seconds, and accomplished it without ruining the car or many regulars. Experienced observers kept returning to that particular result. The fact that he finished one of the most difficult development races he could have participated in, regardless of pace, place, or highlights. Please do me a favor before I discuss the true contradiction between Cleetus and RCR. Please hit like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying these NASCAR Central reports. This channel is still expanding. We're getting close to 4,000 subscribers, so it would be significant if this one received 500 likes. That assistance is quite beneficial. Cleetus sounded as though Talladega was essentially on after the race. So, all in all, I made a ton of mistakes, and I learned a lot, he said, according to Motorsport. I want to avoid the news as much as I did, but I still have a lot to learn. You know, all this chatter on the internet made me wonder if I should return. Yes, that is the Cleetus version of the story. See you all at Talladega in 2 weeks. He made a lot of mistakes, had a difficult day, learned a lot, and now he's ready for the next one. The only issue is that Danny Lawrence entered directly behind him and nearly put an end to his excitement. Lawrence's initial remark, "Well, it's a big step," actually sounded optimistic. He performed quite well on a few occasions when he had the opportunity to spin the vehicle out in front of everyone on this challenging race course. He would be much better, in my opinion, if we went green tomorrow. He picked up a lot of knowledge quickly, and I believe that everyone can see how significant this is for the O'Reilly series. I think he did a fantastic job, but we need to improve. That's support, but it's cautious support. The most important aspect is the last line, "We need to improve." Lawrence continued, "Well, they'll look at everything," which was the true warning. Since we were unable to participate in a live pit stop, they may request that we run another race. Many of the things they had hoped for did not come to pass. It's going to be close, but I wouldn't be shocked if NASCAR didn't want us to run another race before we reached Daytona and Talladega. When he turned sideways early, we instantly went into this conservation mode of just keep rolling and don't push it too hard. We all want to be ready when we do take him there because everything occurred so quickly there. Although Lawrence didn't explicitly state that he wasn't ready yet, his message clearly suggests that, and he publicly stated that NASCAR might want another race. That's not what a team says when it thinks the approval process is finished. He publicly stated that some boxes were left unchecked and that they entered conservation mode following the early sideways moment. Even if the original quotation is stronger than what was said word for word, the title fits emotionally since that's what a team says when the driver makes progress, but the exam is probably not over yet. The official 2026 O'Reilly Series schedule places Talladega for Saturday, April 25th, which is later this month rather than 2 weeks from Rockingham. This means that NASCAR won't have much time to determine whether Rockingham was sufficient or if another evaluation race needs to take place first, and after hearing Lawrence's explanation, it makes sense. The warning, the doubt, and the possibility of a Talladega snub are all real. Talladega is more than just a track, it's a superspeedway, and before it approved the next move, NASCAR wanted Rockingham to demonstrate specific live race scenarios. Lawrence specifically mentioned that they were unable to do a live pit stop and that the team spent the majority of the day simply attempting to keep the car moving following the early scare. To put it another way, Rockingham provided NASCAR with some answers, though perhaps not all of the ones it sought. What's even more intriguing is that the garage's overall response was mostly positive, albeit not overwhelmingly so. Ty Dillon told Cleetus during the race, "You did well. The problem was that I could see you grow excited, catch the men ahead of you, and begin to hurl it in there." Additionally, he informed him that he had gained a lot of knowledge and that he would benefit even more from rerunning it tomorrow. That's the kind of response that says, yes, the errors were clear, but the lessons were also clear. Justin Allgaier has a similar voice. He was reported by Motorsports as stating, "I thought Cleetus did a great job. You know, he did a really good job this morning in the ARCA race, coming home with the top 5. I was just trying to figure out where he needed to be today. He had one spin on turn 4, and I'm not sure what happened, but I don't envy his position at all. I know that today must have been extremely difficult for him, especially considering some of the negative social media posts he's had over the past few weeks. He worked hard and made an effort to get where he needed to be in order to have a good day, so I'm proud of him for that." That veteran is stating that the day was difficult, flawed, and honorable, but he also dropped the line, which brings us full circle to Talladega. Allgaier responded, "Look, man, I can't answer that because I think there are a couple that we race with weekly that I don't know that I would want to draft with at Talladega," when asked if he would trust McFarland enough to push him in the draft. He praised the Rockingham run, but he definitely did not transform that into a super speedway endorsement. That is an intriguing response since it is both protective and non-committal. The core of this tale is that Rockingham did not immediately earn Cleetus's respect, but it did gain him greater respect. Fans frequently confuse the two, but they are not the same. For someone with his level of experience, finishing 250 laps at Rockingham without destroying anyone is a true accomplishment. Both RCR and NASCAR are aware that being thrust into a massive drafting pack at Talladega is a very different test with a completely different risk profile. For this reason, I believe the most honest lesson is this. Although he may not have completed the task, Cleetus demonstrated his ability to learn and listen at Rockingham. He has shown his ability to persevere through a challenging day and even demonstrated some racercraft by keeping the vehicle out of more serious situations on several occasions, but the team's own statements indicate that there are still missing elements. Talladega's post-race remarks, in which he acknowledged, "I had a ton of confidence, and then I spun out," somewhat corroborate the idea that those aspects are important to NASCAR's Superspeedway certification process. At that moment, I was like, I've put myself in the worst position I could possibly be in right now, and I am way in over my head, but I knew we just had to get to the end, and that's what we did, he recalled later. That is the sound of a man who is aware that he is getting better, but is also aware that he is still in the deep end. It is not the voice of a driver who is acting as though he has everything figured out. So, in all honesty, do I think he races at Talladega? I think it's close, and I believe RCR's statement indicates that the outcome hinges more on whether NASCAR believes Rockingham checked enough boxes than on Cleetus' confidence. Talladega may take place if NASCAR is satisfied with his survival, awareness, and the fact that he finished without causing significant problems. If NASCAR determines that the early conservation mode and the absence of a live pit stop element created too much uncertainty, they may want to hold another race first. That is not punishment. That's a process, and I believe he will have more opportunities in NASCAR races. RCR signed him to a 3-race O'Reilly contract, and Rockingham didn't sound like a company that regretted the decision. If anything, the tone from RCR, Ty Dillon, and Allgaier says the opposite. The experience was challenging but beneficial, and if he continues to learn the proper way, the ceiling is still open. The question is not if he vanishes from NASCAR. Cleetus believes he is prepared enough to continue, and his supporters want to believe him, but RCR recently informed everyone that readiness is still being evaluated. The question is whether the next step will occur at Talladega right away or after one more proving ground race. The irony and drama are that NASCAR might seek additional proof before placing him in that setting. For more breaking NASCAR news, controversy, approvals, reactions, and all the biggest stories from around the garage, subscribe to NASCAR Central, leave a like, and let me know in the comments. This is why this story is suddenly so much more interesting than just another influencer running a race headline. Do you agree with RCR that one more race is necessary to complete the process, or did Rockingham prove sufficient for Cleetus McFarland to win at Talladega? If you want early access to movies like this, sign up as a member. It is less expensive than a cup of